So through the years, I've had several of my friends say that they love my bows, but they don't know how to make a bow. So I thought today we would learn how to make a bow. I promise you, it's not that hard. I thought it might help to start with a bow that's already made. So I'm going to take the bow off of the banister. We're going to unmake the bow and then remake the bow. And then I'll go through a step-by-step process in just a minute with some other ribbons and show you a little bit more detailed with that. So let's go ahead and get started. Typically, when I do bows, I like to use 3 different varieties of ribbon. I just feel like it gives a little bit more dimension to the bow. Before we undo the bow here, I want to give you some tips. You remember I said to use 3 different types of ribbon. I prefer the wire edged ribbon. As you look at this one, this ribbon is wire edged, this ribbon is wire edged, and this is actually netting, but it adds a little bit of depth to the bow. So that gives you an idea of the material that you'll be using for your bow. To connect the bow together, you're going to either need a ribbon or a wire. So that's the first thing. You want to make sure you pre-cut your ribbon or wire. A really quick little hack, as you're unpackaging all those Christmas gifts this year, save your twisties. I just keep these in my silverware drawer, and whenever I want to make a bow, it's a quick little anchor that I can use to put the bow together. Then you can just tie a ribbon over it, but you have your anchor to hold your bow together. Or you can use de-gauged wire, and I'll talk about that when we make our next bow. The reason I like the wire ribbon is because if you don't have a wire ribbon, your ribbon is going to get through the years, because I use my bows year after year. But you can see how this one is wrinkly, and I can't reshape it. It's not going to reshape as easy as if you're using a wire edge ribbon. It's going to be able to be reshaped and fluffed. So that's why I like to use the wire edge ribbon. So I'm going to untie that piece that I told you to cut first off. And I do have a wire around this one, so I'm going to be able to pull it out and you can see it. So this is how I would attach it to the banister, is with this ribbon actually. And then in this bow, I wanted to have the longer ribbon, so I actually had just put that in there as additionally. So there you go. So you can see here where my wire is. I'm just going to undo my wire. So this is what is holding the whole ribbon, the bows together, all the ribbon together. So I'm going to take the wire out, and you remember I told you this is what you could use the twisty for and replace a. We're just going to pull it apart. This is the netting. You can see the netting coming off, and then the 2 different types of ribbon in there. So I'm just going to undo the bow. And as you're making the bow, it's really important to finish your ends of your bow off, so it doesn't have to be the same. You can see this one, I did an inverted V on the end of it, and you can do this at the end of the process. You don't have to do it to start with. And then this one is just an angle cut. It doesn't really matter on the netting, because the netting is just really there for more volume. And as a matter of fact, I don't even think I had the netting hanging. I think I just had it in the bow portion. So you need to determine how much you want to be hanging down. You remember I said I added the other pieces toward the end. So you have to decide how big you want your bow to be. I'm going to have to kind of re-straighten this a little bit. I don't undo my bows every year. I generally just fluff my bows every year. So it's not necessary to break them apart. I'm just doing this for educational purposes. You have to determine how big you want your bow to be. Just make sure as you're making your bow that whatever you do on this side, you do on this side, obviously, to have a balanced bow, but you're going to take both ribbons at the same time. It doesn't have to be pretty, because we're going to go back and we're going to fluff it up. And remember, we want to also take that netting and we want to add that netting back in. We'll add the other ribbons back in later. I had more of one ribbon than, I had more of the solid ribbon than the striped ribbon, so I'm just going to keep going with that ribbon. Just making sure I'm doing the same on both sides. And then I'll probably leave that just hanging. All right, so we have the basis for our bow here. We're going to add our netting to it. So it doesn't have to be perfect. But it does need to be even on both sides. Okay, so once we've got all the loops made, you notice I've been holding my hand in the center the whole time. So that's my anchor point, right? So we need to replace that and connect the bow together. So I'm going to use the wire that I had taken off, and I'm going to have to put my glasses back on for this part. Sorry. So we're going to connect it here, and then you're just going to twist it like you would a twisty on a loaf of bread. I had it twisted quite tight before, but I'm going to be tying the other ribbon in, so I don't need to do it so tight. So with your excess ribbon, you can just loop it around to kind of get it out of the way. So I'm going to loop it around. Now I'm going to go ahead and add, I'm going to do the tie off ribbon and then add in the longer piece that I had added in. So it needs to be in the center, and I can reshape it once I get it up on the banister. So I'm just going to hold it in my fist, and then I'm going to take the shorter ribbon, and it's just right on top of that wire, and then I'm just simply going to tie a knot. And really, you don't even have to double knot it. You could if you just wanted that for the security of it, but you don't have to. Now you could either go ahead and shape your bow at this point. You are going to be needing to pull that netting through some of the different loops. You want to mix your loops so that you have a mix. And like this one looks a little bit long, so I'm going to pull on it. And I'm going to see where the other piece is. So it's this piece, I want to make it shorter. So I found the other end of it, watch this. And that's just going to get it more to the length that I wanted by finding the connector piece. So that's a little trick you can use too. All right. Now what I probably prefer to do is I'm going to put it back on the banister, and I'll fluff it on the banister so that I get the look that I want while it's there. So we got a little bit of crazy going on here. I'm going to have to incorporate the netting part into the other two ribbons. So you just simply will kind of pull them in and through. You don't want it all clumped in one area. You want it kind of mixed throughout the bow. And then you want to make sure you've got your satin ribbon mixed in with that striped ribbon there. And don't be afraid to redo a bow. If it doesn't turn out right, just break it apart and try again, especially if you're new to bow making. Because you just kind of have to get a feel for it. Yep, see I got too many satin ribbons there, so I'm going to put this one here, and I need to pull up. And then it's funny, I could be watching TV and look at the bow and something would strike me about it. I'll just come over here and mess with the bow. Right here, I don't like the swirls on these, so I'm going to redo the swirls. Because of that wire, you simply twist it, and then it's going to give you a swirled look. You can do that on the smaller ones too. I don't tend to do it on the smaller ones as much, but I definitely had a look I wanted for these larger ones. Just to give more of a draped look. All right, there we go. Before we get started, I wanted to clarify something on the bows. I said that typically I use 3 different types of ribbon to make the bow. I don't always do that. I have a little bow on one of our advent calendars. It's just a simple little wire bow. It's a single bow. It's got the wire connecting it. So I just wanted you to see that sometimes you can just have a simple bow on a gift or whatever. It doesn't have to be over the top. I am using a recycled bow from a ribbon that I broke apart, that I didn't want it the way it was. I'm going to go ahead and cut a V, inverted V on that end, because it's looking a little frayed. I don't like the frayed look. An inverted V on this part. Okay. And I do find that it's easier to leave your ribbon on the spools. Sometimes I do angles, sometimes I do V's. The wider ribbon I find looks prettier with the V cut in it. You can do that at the end. Sometimes I just do it at the beginning so I don't forget. So I don't have a whole bunch of this one. This is like 99 cents at Walmart. I love to keep these on hand. You can use them for baby gifts, birthday presents. It's a great to wrap around the present and then attach the bow. So that's, we'll use this one at the end, kind of like we did the red. I measured this gold and it was about 6 yards. I love to buy the big things of ribbon, $9.99, but Hobby Lobby always runs them half off. So that's a great way, especially like if you see 75% off, I would pick it up for your craft room, craft closet, and have it for next year. All right. So we're gonna, and I don't have any purpose for this bow other than showing you all. Typically, when I'm making the bow, I would say at a minimum to have 3 loops on each side. But maybe 5. I think it might be better to go with an uneven number. It actually looks more balanced that way. Maybe I can show you the difference between what a 3 loop would look like. And we haven't even added the white in here yet either. So you're just pinching it in the center. So if we stopped at a 3 loop and we fluffed it just a little bit, this would be what your bow would look like, which is going to be a pretty bow, especially when you add the white in there. I think we'll go ahead and go for 5 loops. And if your ribbon did happen to run out, it's easy enough just to start a new piece and nobody would even be able to tell. Usually it's pretty easy to find the same ribbon throughout the holiday. Now I lost count. 1, 2, 3, 4. So we've got 4 on that side and 4 on that side. So we'll do 1 more loop. So I'm out of the gold, but I'm going to keep going. I actually want the gold. Well, I guess it's not that big a deal. Let's finish with this one. And then however long, I may do this one a little bit longer. I may come back on the, take this last gold bow out and let it end so that it drapes down on the other side. So it'll be a little bit longer. So I did 5 of the pattern gold and 4 of the solid gold just because I didn't have enough. All right, so the ribbon, you saw I'm gonna pinch it right there. I think if you keep it on the spools, it just kind of keeps it from getting out of control. You know how I told you to keep the twist ties from your Christmas presents? And it doesn't really matter how much you do of this one, whatever you want to do for the thickness of your bow. I'm going to do 5 just because I've got the ribbon and that ended my spool. But like I said, this is only like 99 cents and you get a ton of it. All right, so now I'm going to take the twist tie we talked about earlier and I'm just going to wrap it. I do have some gold ribbon over there that I can tie over this, like to attach it to a wreath or a mantle or a present. But I'm just going to do the twist tie, and I can go ahead, once I've done the twist tie, then I can start pulling the netting through. Oops, I pulled that too much. Pull it back. once again, I have it a little bit uneven right here, so I'm going to tug on this and see if I can find the other end, and then I'll be able to make it smaller. Okay, so I see it's connected here. So I'm going to pull and make this one bigger, and then I'll make that one a little bit smaller. I think I'll pull that one to the back. Those long ones I'm going to kind of pull to the back too. And then on the gold swirl, you want to make sure that the glitter is facing up. It's a two-sided. This gold is either side, but the glitter needs to be facing up. That's the right side of the ribbon. So you can see here it's facing down. So I'm just going to go in here and turn it up. This one is turned. I think it's the way you make the ribbon. Sometimes you don't realize that you're turning it, but it's easy enough, especially with that wire, to go in there and flip it the other way. So I'm going to work with this a little bit more, and I'll come back after I get this one done. I wanted to real quick tell you one hack that I use that I absolutely love. Done this for years, probably a million years ago. I got a bike bag that I converted into my bow bag. So this is a huge bag, and what's going to happen when I break down my Christmas, I will put all my bows into here. I don't break my bows down, and I store it with my Christmas items, and then I can just pull my bow bag out, pop those bows up super quick. It doesn't take any time at all. So I bought a new one this year. I'll put a picture of my old one. You'll see why I needed a new one. Thanks for joining me in learning how to make a bow. I hope it helped. If you enjoyed it, make sure to subscribe to my channel, give me a thumbs up, and share it with your friends.